Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Unfiltered feed. And yet another week is coming to a close, and here we are back for another episode. This week has been a bit quiet in terms of cricketing action, but off the field, we have seen quite a lot of things. So, before we get into that, let me welcome my co host Yash. So, how are you and how was this week?
Hello everybody. I'm doing great. It's still only Thursday, so the week is pretty much almost over, but not fully. But it's been great. As you said, not a lot of cricketing action, but we've got a lot of information about future cricketing action. So, looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so now we're first going to talk about the IPL schedule, which has been announced, at least the phase 1 schedule has been announced,
Yeah,
and there was a bit of a talk about whether the IPL will be postponed because of all the global crisis that is going on, and maybe fuel shortage and war and all of that. But they have kind of put out a statement by announcing the schedule that the IPL will go on and will start on time. So, do you think, before we go deeper into the schedule itself, do you think the fact that they have announced this phase 1 means that any threat that was looming about postponement is now completely vanquished by the BCCI?
yeah. I think that's how they have announced because Mr. Saikia, who's I think the treasurer, or I'm not sure what post he's on. But when he announced the IPL schedule, he did say that the IPL will not exceed beyond May 31st. So they want to finish it before. So clearly there should be no signs of postponement because if it's starting on March 28th, it can't really postpone if they want to finish it by May 31st. And he also mentioned that the only problem that was delaying the release of the schedule was the local state elections. So it wasn't any of this crisis or the fuel shortage that was causing delays. I'm actually very surprised because at least in some of the major cities in India, a lot of restaurants are starting to shut down because the government is prioritizing households. And usually the IPL is heavily dependent on the hospitality industry. So I'm not sure how they're going to pull it off, but they might have some solution already. So I hope I hope there are no last minute issues because that's very embarrassing for BCCI.
Yeah, I think if they were indeed worried, maybe they would have further delayed the schedule. So
Yeah,
I think they have got enough resources in place, or maybe they know something that we don't about the situation, and they
yeah,
seem to be confident. So, RCB versus SRH, it is to
yeah.
kick off the IPL at the Chinnaswamy on 28th of March. And to be honest, until the start of this year, I wasn't sure Chinnaswamy would get to host a single game because of what happened last year after the final. But of course, they've done a great job to convince the government to get all the clearances. And now that we are seeing the very first game being played there, Venkatesh Prasad and his team have done a great job on that front.
I think let's go team wise. So first, let's talk about RCB. I think this is the first time. Obviously, it's the first time that their fans are going to say that we are the defending champions. And I think the Bangalore crowd is the most passionate. So taking this opportunity away from them would have been really unfair. But obviously, safety is first. So I think they have managed to increase the security or maybe have multiple exits to avoid any choke points. So they must have done something, which is why they've got the clearance. But I'm very happy for the Bangalore crowd as well because Even though their team hasn't done the best at home, they usually always turn up. I think they are the only team who would basically have a stadium packed just to see them practice, which no other team can do. So very happy for the crowd.
Yeah, I think I do have a lot of strong views regarding uh, uh, why there was talk about Chinnaswamy being banned in the first place, because the stampede didn't really happen because of the crowd at the game or anything like that. It happened outside of Chinnaswamy, and the lack of facilities at the stadium as such was not the reason of the stampede. So I know there was a lot of internal incompetence which I will not get into, but as you mentioned, they have taken a lot of precautionary measures. I also read that they will do a mock test for all the crowd before the actual season starts, and I don't know how they're going to judge if the arrangements are in place, because you can't create a stampede like situation on your own. So maybe it's another way to just show that the stadium is ready. But I'm very thrilled for the crowd because they deserve to see their favorite team
Yeah,
in person.
absolutely. So let's quickly look at their four games. The good thing this year is that in the first phase, each team is playing four games. So it's not weird where one team plays three and the other team plays five. So it's symmetrical. So RCB, they kick off with two home games, and the first one is obviously the opener against Hyderabad, and the second one is after 9 days against Chennai Super Kings, and then they play away. They go to Guwahati, which is after 5 days against RR, and then it's only 2 days until the next game, which is on the 12th at Wankhede versus the Mumbai Indians. So, what is your first let's say, quick judgment about this schedule?
I think it's kind of been a trend in the recent past where they always get the big games in early to create a bit of hype. You saw that last year as well, where they played against CSK and MI. MI is, I think, kind of a routine game now at the Wankhede once every year in the, I think, second week of April. It happens every year now, and
Yeah,
that's what it is this time as well. And CSK, a home game this time early on, which is interesting because if you remember the last two times they played in Bangalore, you had two thrillers.
yeah,
2024, of course, with qualification at stake, and also the last game, the no ball of Yash Dayal, and both times it was Yash Dayal. I don't think we'll see him again this time, but still, the rivalry has been kind of one-sided in the last two seasons in favor of RCB, which I never imagined, I would say. So I'm excited to see how CSK fight back.
yeah, exactly. I think the good thing for them is they don't have a lot of games at the start, because usually with RCP what happens is they have a really poor start and then they're just playing catch up for the rest of the tournament. So here they play their first game, then they have 9 days to reflect, then they play one game, then they again have 5 days break. So even if they've lost the first game, they still have chance to kind of come back, and then I think the busy season starts for them. So now let's go to number two, like you mentioned, Punjab. I think they must be the first side who've played the final and haven't played the first two games in the next season, because usually you always hope the finalists. Usually the finalists play the first game, but I think this year that wasn't possible. So Punjab will start at home, luckily. So that's the only good thing for them. But they start their campaign against Gujarat, then they play CSK away, then they play KKR away, and then they play SRH home.
I think uh, that's, as you mentioned, that's the only saving grace, that they're playing at home for the first game,
Yeah.
and it's not a day game, which it perennially has been for them. So I think that's good, but I expected them to get the opening game this time, because if you even keep aside the fact that they played the final, but also the fact that they were very entertaining and quite a watchable side last season. So
Yeah.
I did expect them to get that elusive opening game this time, but I think they still go with reputation ahead of actual performances. Punjab Kings, I'm really looking forward to seeing them because, as you know, the second season blues kick in most of the times. So I'm eager to see how they do after what they achieved last season.
Yeah, and one interesting, let's say, coincidence or something that's gone under the radar is that Shreyas Iyer, whenever he has success with the team, he never really has got an opportunity to come back the next season and show what he's capable of. Because against Delhi, when they reached the final, the very next year he was injured, so he wasn't in the first part of the season. And when he came back, Rishabh Pant was still the captain. And against KKR, when they won the IPL, uh, the very next year he went to Punjab, and that was last year. So I'm actually curious to see how Shreyas Iyer comes back after a good season and if they can maintain the same form or they dip. So as you said, I'm excited to see what Punjab does.
Yeah, and of course they have got a very strong Indian core, and players would have matured. Players like Priyansh Arya, Prabhsumran Singh, Nehal Vadera. So that would also be interesting to see.
Yes. So now let's go to my favorite team, which is the Mumbai Indians. And this team, they get the second match of the season. They'll open their campaign against KKR at home. Then they play two away matches in Delhi and Guwahati, and then they play RCB at home. And they have one day-night match, just like Punjab. So, what are your thoughts on this schedule for them?
I think MI is always a crowd puller wherever they go, and I think MI KKR to begin the campaign for them is kind of a battle of two one-sided rivalries or one-sided settings because MI generally lose their first game, but they also
Yeah,
have been dominant against KKR. So I would like to see which of those streaks continues.
yeah,
Though in 2024 KKR did defeat them both the times, but other than that season they have been kind of dominant against them. So I think the first game itself is interesting, and then of course MIRCB, everyone's eyes will be on that one.
yeah. I think if you look at last year's points table, KKR, Delhi, and RR were towards the bottom. So it's a rather easy start for MI. Obviously, these teams have definitely changed. I think Delhi look really solid this year, but based on last year's form. Plus, KKR, they are going through an injury crisis. So that should basically be an easy win for MI. So I really hope they can start off well because I think after these four games, you play the likes of SRH, CSK, and other teams that are potentially contending for the title. So this time they've got a easy start. So I hope they can pick up the momentum and then go ahead from there.
Yeah.
So now let's go to Gujarat. And now let's quickly run through the schedule and then we'll look at a few interesting games. So Gujarat's four games are going to be against Punjab, RR, then against Delhi and Lucknow. And interestingly, they have three away games. So the only home game for them is against Rajasthan Royals. Uh, and then let's quickly go to who finished P5 last time? Was it Lucknow or Delhi?
I think it was Delhi.
So Delhi Capitals. Their four games are against Lucknow, Mumbai, Gujarat, and CSK. And they also have two home and two away. After that, I think we had. Was it KKR last time?
I think it was SRH.
SRH. SRH obviously kick off their campaign against RCB, and then they have two home and two away games again against KKR, Lucknow, and Punjab. And I think,
Relatively easy.
yeah, I think we can we can stop here because it's basically pointless for me to just read all the schedule. But what do you make of the fact that they have released only the first 20 games? And what's the information about the next part of the schedule?
Yeah, so they've released the schedule till April 12th, so that means that the assembly elections won't be until April 12th. So
Yeah,
I think that's the only confirmation they could get from the central government. That's why they're waiting, because you don't want to have an IPL game in a city when the elections will be held there. I think
yeah,
we have elections in Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Assam. So they are kind of rounding off the Guwahati games
yeah,
uh, early on, so you don't have to go there again. But Chennai and Kolkata, of course, are major cities, and you have got 7 home games there each. So I think that is interesting to see in the first phase how many home games they have allotted to CSK and
yeah.
KKR.
I just saw that CSK have gotten 2 home games and 2 away games, and KKR has got 3 home games. So they are trying to finish off Guwahati and Kolkata pretty early. And I think there were rumors that CSK might play 2 of their home games in Ranchi. So they might want to, clear these Chennai games and then move the rest of them to Ranchi. So I think that will be cleared once they announce the second part.
Yeah, so that is the plan. And the other thing that we don't have a confirmation on yet is whether they have expanded as per the
Yeah, yeah,
schedule, because they were supposed to do that last year, but they said that uh, they wanted to continue with the same format for another year, so they pushed it further to 2026. And now that we are in 2026, they haven't really updated us on whether they will be expanding it to 84 games this season. Because if you remember, when the rights were sold back in 2023, they had a kind of a roadmap for the expansion, and that mentioned that 2025 would be when it expands from 74 to 84 and go on for a couple of seasons, and then further expand to 94 games. So I think they realized that it was getting a bit too long, and the TV ratings might have dropped in the kind of middle or end part of the season and catch up again during the playoffs. So maybe they were a bit hesitant to expand it, but I think they should at least give a official clarification on whether they are expanding or not, because you can't just leave everyone on air.
yeah, exactly. I think one potential solution that they were discussing was having 2 or 3 games happening simultaneously, which is similar to the English Premier League or other football competitions. I think they also tried that out in 2021, if I'm not wrong. But if they
Yeah.
are not doing this, then I think with 96 or 80 matches, it's going to become very long. It might exceed and go into June as well. And then I think India has a few international games coming up, so that becomes a problem for them.
Yeah, I remember in 2021 where they did try and implement that simultaneous games. They got a feedback from the broadcaster that we don't like this, because we want every game to have a potential of 1.4 billion people watching it. And I don't quite understand it, because you can't have it both ways. You can't expand the league and also have every game at its own time,
Yeah,
because that would mean you would need more day games. And seeing the kind of summers India has been seeing in the last couple of years, I don't think that is practical,
yeah,
because the player, you don't want to destroy the players in order to get some eyeballs. And that is something they should consider, because it also kind of increases a bit more excitement towards the end when net run rate will come into play, and if you have simultaneous games, it will be quite interesting to switch tabs and keep a watch on both of them.
yeah, exactly. So let's see what happens. I personally think this year it will remain uh, the same length as it was last time. Because if it was increasing, they would have definitely let the viewers know by now. Because they would have hyped it up like anything. But since they haven't done it, I think it's going to stay the same.
Yeah. And apart from the schedule, a couple of more updates on the IPL is that 15th of March you have a IPL captain's photo shoot. That is what BCCI said, and which is quite interesting because they've never had it pre-planned. It always feels like an afterthought whenever they've done it in the past. So this time it is a separate event in the calendar, which is quite interesting. I don't know if they're planning to do something different this time or maybe market it a bit better, but that is something to watch out for. And also 25th March you have the IPL captains meet in Mumbai, which is also when they get to know a few new rules that BCCI is planning to implement. And it has happened in the past couple of years that you get to know some really massive changes in the IPL.
Yeah.
Like you had last time, you had the fact that saliva is now again usable on balls, and you had the two bouncer rule being introduced and DRS for wides. All of those rules were told to the captains in that captains meet. So I do expect a couple of new rules this time as well. You never know what they are. So that is going to be interesting. So the fact that they have separate events for these two tells me they have something planned for the captain's photo shoot this time, which hasn't been happening in the past.
Yeah, I think the photo shoot was supposed to happen in Delhi, and then the meeting was supposed to happen in Mumbai, if I'm not wrong. But now I think both the events are going to happen in Mumbai because I think it's more convenient for captains. So you might once again see that iconic photo in front of the Gateway of India that happened last time. But yeah, I'm very excited to hear new rules. I really hope they do something about impact sub. But yeah, we can maybe talk more about that in our IPL preview.
Yeah, we are going to have a lot of IPL content coming up. IPL previews of all 10 teams and possible starting 12s, and of course, a lot of other factual videos as well to build up some hype.
Yeah, definitely. So for now, I think we can call it a day. Just the 20 matches announced, but at least there's something that we can whet our appetite on. So I'm hoping that they announce more information, and I think it's only 18 days away, 16 days away, so not too long.
Yeah, so that is it for now, and as soon as we get more updates, we will come back with more videos. For now, this is us signing off.